Hello and welcome to OptiSphere, a podcast channel by Opti Consult Me, where we explore the evolving world of eye care through insightful conversations with leading voices in the field. I'm your host Neha Chaurasia, and I am honored to welcome a trailblazer in optometry education, Dr. Mrs. Prema Chande. She currently heads the Department of Optometry at Lotus College of Optometry. She is a keyboard member at Optometry Council of India. She's played a key role in developing the 5-year optometry curriculum. She's a well celebrated educator and consultant, both internationally and nationally. Dr. Prema Chande, welcome to OptiSphere. It's truly a pleasure to have you join us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. We'd like to know about your optometry journey. What motivated you to join this field and what keeps you inspiring till date?
Okay. So what motivated me to join this field was, of course, if you speak to anybody from my generation for whom optometry was a very new profession in India, was if you didn't get into medicine, you're looking for healthcare opportunities, optometry was my next best option. So having said that, I have really not looked back. When I got into the profession and I started learning more about how we can help people with eye and vision care services, I have not looked back. Till today, even anatomy and physiology of the eye are exciting for me. The newer things which we see, I love diagnostics. So every time there is a new equipment and something to learn on, I'm really excited. Of course, prevention of blindness and working in community eye health is my high points. I completely enjoy if I have to visualize and conceptualize a new project and see how it can be implemented and what lessons we can learn and how we can take it forward. So that's my journey, academics, public health, and I'm still in love with optometry. 35 years, I guess, since I graduated. It's not changing. It's not going anywhere. So I can continue to do this for the rest of my life and maybe next birth also. In fact, I'm starting my career now because the next 30 years looks so exciting for Indian optometry.
Okay.
I think I'm at the fag end of my career, but I think the next 3 decades look very interesting to see what's going to happen.
So that's incredibly inspiring. So there's no retirement for Prema ma'am. Okay. Well, there's a lot of buzz and talk about in optometry circle about the 5-year curriculum which has been just accepted. We want to know, as per your perspective, what were the key factors considered while developing the curriculum?
Okay, so I think first, if you go back to basics, it's the definition of a healthcare professional and an allied healthcare professional, right? So if you go and look at the Act, NCAHP Act, the Act defines an allied and healthcare professional or an allied professional as somebody who has a 2 to 4 year qualification with 2,000 plus hours of training. Whereas if you look at a healthcare professional, the healthcare professional is somebody who has 3 to 6 years of training with 3,500 odd plus hours of education, right? So it's important that there is a distinction between the healthcare and technical. If you looked at any of the full healthcare professionals, leaving MBBS, if you looked at dentistry or all our Ayush programs, if you looked at it, they're all for 5 years, right? So because physiotherapy and optometry have been put under healthcare and not under allied, it was important for us to align with what is nationally the norm. If the norm for dentistry was 5 years, it was important for physiotherapy and optometry to also align for 5 years, okay? So that's to fit more closely with the definition of a healthcare profession. That is one. The second is, if you looked at the optometry program to when I joined, way back in 88, if you looked at the original 1985 curriculum of elite school, to the understanding of eye and ocular diseases to what it is today. Look at the diagnostics that have been added today. Look at the disease understanding we've added today. Look at the newer disease pathology forms we understand today. Every subject is more. So, for example, if you look at your instrumentation curriculum, I didn't have to learn OCTs and automated visual fields at my time, right? But today that's a part of our daily clinical life, right? I didn't have dry eye disorder machines. We were happy learning how to do a Shermer's and a tear breakup, and we were done with the dry eye evaluation, right? Today, you need to do a mammography. You need to learn to do use an IDRA kind of a machine, which gives you a lipid interferometry and so on. So if you look at the way the profession is evolved and is evolving, continuing to evolve, right? We need that additional teaching at undergraduate level. So I think keeping all this into perspective, because I remember when we developed the first clinical master's curriculum, which Lotus had worked very closely with professionals pan-India and internationally and done, it was not easy for us to just ape an international curriculum and say, we will do this, right? We had to see what the other countries were learning, what is the scope of practice in India, what we teach at the bachelor's program, and then find what you will fill the gap with the master's program, right? So today, when we started rewriting our bachelor's curriculum, we had to again do the same thing. We had to look at what the existing 2012 curriculum, which we had developed, the curriculum was developed in 9-10 actually, CMOC, and then when the ministry had approved, it was whatever 10 or 11 it was approved in. And then from there to when we were rewriting the curriculum now in 21-22, in 10 years, we looked at how much the profession has changed and what we need to add into it. And when we needed to add in those extra material and look at how we can create a base so that the profession can get more evolved in the next. See, when you make a curriculum, it should be at least applicable for the next 10 years, right? 10 years, 5 years. So even if you look at a 5-year period, we need to have had that window to show what more newer things could be added into the curriculum, right? For example, today the scope of practice is X. Tomorrow it will be X plus Y plus Z, right? Today, so many of our own graduates with a 4-year training are working independently in government PHCs, right? Now, when they are practicing independently, there is so much of decision making they need to do on their own. Whether this patient needs to be immediately seen by the ophthalmologist, whether this patient can wait, or whether this patient can go in the next 1 month anytime. Right now, that's an important clinical decision making which this person sitting in a remote village PHC needs to take. Correct? Now, if you don't equip them to take that decision confidently, will they be able to practice? So, keeping all that in mind, the way practice is evolving today, we had to, make sure that the curriculum is robust enough to address the healthcare and the eye care needs of this country. And that's how all the academicians decided that no, 5 years makes sense, teaching more makes sense, and keeping room to teach some more also makes sense, right? So that's how the curriculum evolved to a 5-year program.
That makes a lot of sense. But do you feel that our colleges currently, which are the Indian colleges, are ready for this change as per their infrastructure or other factors considered?
Very, very good question, Neha. We had started this exercise when we did common minimum optometry curriculum way back in 2008-9. We said we are writing a very nice curriculum saying minimum this much needs to be covered in optometry. And let's see what are the difficulties people will have implementing it. Okay. So since we had already done this work 15 years back, we know it's not so hard now. Okay. That time we were all doing it for the first time. At least I was doing it for the first time. We found the gaps to be infrastructure in colleges, and we found the gap to be faculty not so well trained. Okay, so we put systems in place for faculty development. We put systems in place for teaching how to teach optometry. We put what should be a minimum infrastructure for a college. So when we reworked the ILOCS document in 2018-19 during COVID 19-20, if you go and see the competency list document, it also has a list of equipment on it which says must have and desired. Okay. Now, when we are giving out what they need to be there to teach, we would expect at least the optometry colleges to have a blueprint, which was not there. Like Lotus is 25 years old. When we started, we didn't have a blueprint on what the college should have, right? We had to learn. Oh, so when you start teaching, you say, okay, we're going to need this also, and we're going to need this also, and we're going to need this also, right? So today there is a blueprint. There is a ready infrastructure of what is needed. Like if you go for medicine or for dentistry, the dental councils and medical councils have already defined this should be the space required for this many students, this many faculty need specialty, this is the kind of equipment you need, and so on. Now, today, optometry programs are also having this. We already had a blueprint with CMOC. We had a blueprint when we reworked the document in 2020, and we even with the new curriculum, we have laid down infrastructure. So if you look at the new curriculum document, it has a very good infrastructure detail. Okay, so one is the blueprint. Now, whether this is available in the 300 plus optometry colleges is what needs to be seen now. If you look at, we had done a mapping of infrastructure exercise again some years ago, some 15 odd years ago, and we found that a lot of the colleges had a lacuna. So when they had a lacuna, we told them, listen, you need to bring up. If you need some support, we will also work on it. So when we had done that exercise, we found one of the areas of weakness was low vision. They didn't have low vision clinics. Faculty didn't know how to teach low vision. We actually raised money for setting up 30 primary low vision clinics. This was done in 2014-15. And we actually used to pre-screen patients from schools for blind and in camps and bring them in and teach the faculty how to do a live low vision workup in Lotus. And we trained about 45 faculty pan-India on how to teach low vision, how to do a full low vision workup, and we also gave them the equipment to set up a basic low vision clinic. So all that was done when it was a voluntary model. So ASCO and OCI and all of them worked towards doing all of this. Now it's going to be, so whichever college was interested came for the training, took the infrastructure, right? Took the material and so on. Now it's going to be a council which has laid down these rules. The center is going to say, if you don't have A, B, C, D, E to Z, you can't run the optometry school, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's a government rule which is in place. Soon all the infrastructure rules will be out. The curriculum was just recently launched. Excuse me. And now the infrastructure rules will be out. Once the center gives the rules, the state has got only one job, to make sure that the rules are implemented in their respective states.
Yeah.
So colleges will either have to play by the rule book, they will be given time, which means it doesn't mean that lock, stock, barrel colleges will be shut. We need all of them. If there is a lacuna, then they will be told that they need to come up. They will be given a timeline to say you need to come up, and if you are matching it, only then your next year renewal will occur, right? That's how it works for nursing council, that's how it works for dental council, that's how it works for medical council. The rule will be the same. The state councils will take up the responsibility of implementing the rules, which the center will follow. So center will give the rule for pan-India. So a uniform infrastructure, uniform faculty will be people with uniform qualifications will be implementing a uniform curriculum. So the concept of one nation, one curriculum, one infrastructure comes from there. Medical councils, dental councils are 100 years old. In the recent few years, they've even shaped up so that the examination and what they teach even week-wise, over 2 weeks, over 3 weeks, is not very different from one college to another college. It's so similar. Whereas with optometry, we will take now that maybe 4-5 years to implement it fully. Like 2025, they said it's voluntary curriculum. 2026 curriculum is mandatory. Right? So infrastructure also, they will be given some time like that. 3 years, 4 years, they will be given time. Nobody is going to wanting to shut down unless the college says, sorry, we can't cope up. Then it's the college's decision, right? To the best of my understanding, we want every institute, we want everybody to be here. Even with ESCO, when we used to do these infrastructure mapping, and we used to say, listen, we are not doing any kind of a inspection over here. We are not here to shut you down. We are only trying to understand what you have to see how we can help you overcome the learning, right? So this was the kind, and I'm sure the councils will also have the similar approach. We are by the profession for the profession, right? So we will want, at least this is how I would look at my role in the state council. I would want every institute to come up to the level of what the recommended infrastructure is.
That makes a lot of sense here, that we are not diluting it, we are uplifting it, and we are not even segregating people. But here I would wanted to you answered my question that how much time it's going to take, maybe 4-5 years or 7 years.
It could, see, curriculum is going to go in place by 26, right? Which means first year. So you don't need all the infrastructure in the first year. You should have adequate first year infrastructure to roll out the curriculum. By the time you reach second year, you need to know what your second year infrastructure is. You should be ready. We are not saying in the first year you have the fourth year infrastructure ready. Correct? You will be given time. Even medical council gives time for a new medical college. They don't need to have all 5 years infrastructure together. They have to show that they'll be able to upgrade the infrastructure. Right? That much capacity they should be able to demonstrate. The same thing will be expected. Just like how the Medical Council of India or Dental Council of India or a Nursing Council is going to function, we will be functioning. So they will all be given time, those who don't have the infrastructure, to upgrade.
So is it in par with international optometry education programs, or how is India moving in the same direction as internationally?
See, already a lot of our optometry was international, right? It was on par. Now every country will have some country-specific rules. Whether you match them, whether you don't match them. That's why even when you do medical programs, you have to go and write licensure exams. Whether you are in the US or UK, you'll have to do, or Middle East or whatever, you'll have to go and write exams in their country to learn their rules and so on. So that difference will remain from country to country. A more ideal question will be, is Indian optometry now ready to take on what India's needs are in the future? Okay. So what are our healthcare needs? What are our eye and vision care needs? Right? I'm including health because eye cannot be isolated. Eye looks into the rest of the body. There is diabetes, it shows in the eye. And if there's anemia, it shows in the eye. If there's inflammation, it shows in the eye, right? So we need to have an understanding of what is happening in the rest of the system. So if we know Indians are turning diabetic faster, and if diabetic retinopathy is our future blindness challenges, then are we ready to take care of diabetic retinopathy as primary eye care practitioners? If myopia is our challenge, then are we getting ready to take care of myopia? Okay, so I think that would be a more apt question. If you look at the present curriculum, it has definitely factored for Indian eye care needs and the needs of our population, right? Like everybody would love to ask this question, why does India have 300 optometry colleges? Are we producing too many optometrists? UK has 10, US has 20, 30, whatever. I'm not looking at them. Their colleges take 150 to 200 students at a time, right? Are we big enough to take that kind of, are our optometry colleges maybe 20, 30 years down the line? Yes, because If you still look at our newer government colleges, they also started with 40 and 50 seats. Cooper has now been upgraded to 100 seats, right? So if you are looking at our present infrastructure of our colleges, we can do only 20 and 30 and 50 seats. Anything more than that, our IOPDs will not have enough volume of work for them to do. So if we are looking, there could be a very big college sometime in future with 150 students with about 5,000 IOPD patients. Fair enough, they will get it. They can also take 150 students, no problem. But if you look at the current eye care needs of India, we do need all those colleges. We are graduating close to, we had done one study where we said 8 to 9,000 students per year is what we are graduating at 4-year level, which is still not enough to address eye care needs of India. Because I will draw your attention to one of the articles which was recently published a few months ago. It's called Indian Optometry Education, addressing the eye care needs of 3 billion eyes. If you are looking at our population of 1.44 to 1.5 billion in the next 4 or 5 years, and if you are going to multiply it into 2 eyes, we are talking of 3 billion eyes to be taken care of. Is our optometry education robust enough to take care of it? Because when we talk of eye care, even the World Health Organization says there has to be a universal coverage, which means every person at some point in their life needs eye care, and every person needs to undergo an eye exam. If you look at children, every child needs to be screened. If you look at people above the age of 40, everybody needs to be screened, right? So we are talking about 3 billion eyes to be looked after. Do we have that kind of numbers? No, we don't. Right? Even if you do the present calculation or whatever calculation you do, 40, 50, 50,000, 40,000 optometrists in India. WHO says for every 10,000 people, you're going to need one optometrist, right? So if you're talking of 1.5 billion people, you're going to need 150,000 optometrists. And you'll have some people like me who want to retire a few years down the line, right? So you still need to keep filling in the shoes of people who are going to stop working. So I think there's a lot of work to do.
Definitely, this is linked to my second question. Like some professionals in optometry, they are really concerned about this, that the curriculum, the 5-year program may slow down the supply of optometrists in the market.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll have by delaying by 1 year. I don't think the supply is, because the supply is going to still be there every year, right? So how will it slow down? You might have 1 year as a gap year or something where you may not have, but how will that slow down? You'll always have there will be an overlap when we introduce, let us say the 2026 curriculum will be introduced, 5-year curriculum will get introduced in 2026. Yes. The first batch will graduate by when? 5 years down the line, 2031, right? But you have students who have already enrolled in 21, 22, 23, 24. The ones who have graduated in 22, 23, 24 will start graduating by 26, 27, 28, 29. At the most, you may have a gap year, 1 year. But then people will continue to graduate, right? And after that, it'll be every year anyway, you'll get only one batch of new healthcare professionals. I don't see how it is going to slow down. I don't see the slowdown at all. I don't see this slowdown.
This answers a lot of questions, because when I had a discussion with a lot of professionals, they were very concerned that this is going to be, a problem in the market. This is a 5-year program, and how we are going to get our optometrists. Particularly, I would say that there are some hospitals, when they are relying on self-trained vision technicians, and the corporates, there are companies.
Those are the ones who they are not concerned about where we'll get our optometrists. They are concerned is now the government and the council will come very heavily on these self-trained people, because these people will not have any government registration. See, the moment this happens, there's going to be registration. The qualified ones will all get registered. There will be a lot of challenge for these. There are 2-year government diplomas. See, till there is a cutoff date which the council has put in. The cutoff date was, if I'm not mistaken, when the bill was introduced. Bill was introduced, I think, in 2012. So when the bill was introduced, it was in public domain. Everybody knew it will become an act. Whether the act will come in 13 or 14 or whether it came in 21, that was secondary. Bill was introduced, it was in public domain. Everybody knew optometry is going to get regulated, right? So 12 was taken as a cutoff. All the people who enrolled into the shorter programs till 12, graduated by 13 or 14, will be the ones who would be taken in under the grandfather clause. Anybody who enrolled after the cutoff date, right? After the cutoff date will not be included, which means people who got their so-called self-trained degrees or these things after 17, 18, 19, 20 will not get into the council.
Okay.
Because council has got 2 levels. One is the diploma holders and one is the degree holders, right? So for either of the categories, I think after the cutoff date, I'm not exactly sure of the cutoff date, but I know there will be a cutoff date. People before that will all be taken in. But people after the cutoff date will not be taken in. And all those whom they trained as all the people who will be trained under who are not following this national curriculum. Like right now, the national curriculum is for the 5-year optometry program. There is a similar curriculum which will be for all the allied, the next level also, right? The vision technician, yeah, under ophthalmic sciences, we've got 2 cadres, right? It will be for the next cadre also. So this 2-year plus cadre will also have a curriculum. And they will also have rules and they will also have all the regulations to follow. And there will also be a difference in the competencies, correct? What they will be allowed to do and what they will not be allowed to do. It's like how much ever you regulate optometry and you empower optometry with a 5-year program with 5+ masters plus PhDs, you will never be able to do a cataract surgery, correct? There will always be a difference. Similarly, there will always be a difference between the vision technician and the full-fledged optometrist. They will be allowed to do some things. They will not be allowed to do many, many things. Okay. So
some light, because what I see is at vision technician part or I see diplomas, they're doing everything what are yeah.
because there is no regulation being implemented now.
Yeah.
Today there is no regulation being implemented. See, when somebody asked me what does this act mean to you? You know, when 2021 when the act was introduced, I said, what does this mean to you? I said, to me, the first thing it means is till today, anybody with any qualification or no qualification, if they wanted to call themselves an optometrist, they could call.
Yeah.
Today there is a definition. You had to have minimum so many hours of training and so much of teaching, learning with examinations, and only after that you fit into the definition of an optometrist or a healthcare professional, right? And there is a difference between the 2 cadres. I think that to me meant a lot because there was a law that always stopped me from calling myself an ophthalmologist, right?
Yeah.
But there was no law stopping somebody on the street who wanted to call themselves an optometrist to say that, right? There, I had to have the difference between me as a qualified optometrist to somebody who was not qualified. Today, there is a legal act in place which says that you can't call yourself an optometrist if you haven't undergone this kind of a training and education.
Yes.
Right? I think to me, the act made that difference. I don't know what it makes for the rest of the world. That's what it meant to me. So I think that it's time that distinction came, right? So people who are informally trained, and I say informally trained, you could have a 2-year diploma, a formal diploma from a university or from a recognized board. That's different, but this is informal training. If they've had in hospitals with no accreditation,
Yeah.
those will be struck down. And they should also, right? Because we are doing more harm to those people than you are doing otherwise. Because if they get that training and if they don't get an upgrade, because I know when we introduced lateral entry in Lotus, I had to fight with YCMOU saying, no, these are diploma holders. They need to get at least 1 year of exemption before they enroll into the 4-year program. At least allow them to go into the second academic year. All right. And there were universities which were taking them directly into the 3rd year, which also I argued with them saying, no, you can't do that. Because there's a lot of difference in the 2nd year curriculum where they learn diseases, where they learn CVS, where they learn instrumentation, which is not done in the diploma program. So they need to learn all of that, and they need to learn all the contact lenses and low vision and binocular vision of the 3rd year. You can give them an exemption in internship if they come with work experience, but don't give them this exemption, right? So make them sit through all those papers. So I know what effort it's taken. So if they have some formal training, universities will accept them for a lateral entry. Today, a diploma holder can become, even in
Optometrist.
engineering or in optometry, they can actually upgrade their diploma to a degree. They are still optometrists, but with a better qualification, right? So they can upgrade to a degree. They can upgrade to a master's. They can go for a public health program. They can go for a management program. They can go for an optometry program. They can go for PhDs. But if they have an informal qualification, then as per Government of India, it's only 10th or 12th, which was their last board. Then they can't upgrade, right?
Yeah.
They'll have to again start from ground zero. So that informal training is definitely going to be struck down. Because I think we are doing more harm to them.
Yes, even their career, even we are playing with the patient care.
Yes,
And
yes. My always argument was, even 60, 70 years ago when optometry was introduced in India, in the government eye hospitals, they also said 12 science minimum a diploma with 3 years, 2 plus 1.
yeah.
And that was the oldest, form of optometry education in India, with full respect in all our government hospitals. And from there, optometry grew to 4 years and now 5 years, right? So even at that time, they thought that you need a 12th science with that minimum 2 years of academic training plus internship in a government eye hospital to
3 years.
learn how to take care of patients, right, in
Yeah.
an OPD. So by creating 1 year and 2 year people, I think we are doing more harm to the public. I mean, you are even degrading or reducing the eye health standards of what our government had put in place as long as whatever, early 1950s, when optometry was actually introduced in India, 1960 or 50. I really can't remember when.
I think this
100
is
years.
very
Indian optometry is 100 years. We can
yeah.
trace it as old as 1925, 1930. But the diploma programs took some more time to get introduced. The earliest government diplomas, I think, could be 1950s or early 60s. But we could trace back. We recently did one on 100 years, and that tracing back was I think as early as 1924 or something. So we are 100 years old in this country, right? So it's time.
There was a lot of debate which I was reading on LinkedIn, a professional platform, that nothing less than a doctor. Like this is the threat to our profession. So any light on that part you would want to?
No, I didn't understand why, because you're not getting the title.
Yeah, because see, if we are coming into the healthcare category, and there are 5 years courses like the dental course or the Ayush courses, which are getting the doctorate after completing the 5 years of education with similar hours of training. So why not optometry getting a doctorate instead as well? Sorry.
See, it's a good desire, let me tell you. But I can also tell you it comes with immense responsibility. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we ready for it? That's one. That's one. I'm asking the other way around. All right. And to me, I think, okay, now, of course, I have a doctorate because of my PhD in the past few years. But even when I was just a bachelor's or a master's degree person, the way I spoke to my patients, they opted to address me as a doctor, right? They wanted to pay me my consultation charges when I used to talk to them. I think first we need to get that public recognition.
Yeah.
So you can't demand it, you can't command it, you have to earn it. And as I said, I think it comes with a lot of responsibility. See, it will come at some point or the other. We've seen it coming into the other professions. It will
Yeah.
come at some point or the other, but I think we are still not ready for it. I think it comes with a lot of responsibility. For example, are we ready today that if the government or the council says this is a comprehensive eye exam, and if you misdiagnose a patient, let us say you miss a glaucomatous cupping,
Yeah.
okay, and the patient ends up with glaucoma and permanent loss of vision some years down the line. I'm giving you a hypothetical situation.
Could be a
It be a
possibility.
medical legal case. It's a
Yeah.
misdiagnosis, right?
No.
If something like that goes wrong, a few cases in the country goes wrong, all our rights will get struck down. Even in US today, even though optometrists can say treat a corneal ulcer, okay, but in the court of law, if they are asked, are you the corneal experts to treat this condition? It's a no. You are legally allowed to treat it, yes. But if things go wrong for the patient and the patient sues the optometrist, the expert for that condition is still a cornea specialist who's an ophthalmologist and not an optometrist. You get it? So are we prepared for that kind of a responsibility? Are Indian optometrists ready for it? I think when they get ready for that, they should demand that doctor's degree. Till then, I think we should be quiet and say, let us give us more rights. Let us demonstrate that we can do a lot more primary eye care for our patients. Earn
Quality.
it. Yes. Do quality work, do quality eye exams, even a comprehensive eye exam. A simple comprehensive eye exam. Neha, you tell me. When you go to a campsite, you have worked with us for so many years, right? You know, when we went to a campsite also, we did a battery of tests.
Yes.
Correct? When you went to a school eye health program, you've done your PhD with school eye health, right? So you still made sure that you did eye movements for the children, you did a torchlight evaluation, you did their cover tests, you did their stereos, you did their color vision before you even did anything else. Correct? That's the battery of screening protocol when we go and work with children, whether you work in the school or whether you work in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
With adults, we always did direct ophthalmoscopies, we did intraocular pressures, if you remember.
Yes, we do.
15 years back when you were in college, first year in your
Mobile exams and
right,
yeah.
we always had a robust protocol. That's a good, solid eye exam protocol. How many of our optometrists pan India follow that eye exam protocol? Is there a law stopping you from following it? No. Tomorrow there will be a law that will force you to follow it. Are you prepared to do it? And if you misdiagnose in that process, you still fall under medical legal law today because consumer law also protects patients.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very, very important, instead of asking and demanding a doctorate title, and I'm asking the other way around. Are you prepared to face the responsibility that comes along? In any
Yes.
case, that responsibility is coming, it's not going anywhere. Okay.
I think it's a it is very important to understand where we stand as an optometrist and be united in this, important event where it is recognized, it is getting regularized, and we should stand together instead of fighting against each other as a unity, for specifically who have done their bachelors, have completed their degrees, and they should come together. I think that's the need of the hour today.
We have seen when law was implemented in Hong Kong, in Australia, in Canada, there's precedent. Lot of the optometrists with 4-year degrees went back to study another 100 hours in college if you wanted to practice with the same rights as a newer 5-year one. If you didn't want to, you could stay at your level and this is all you will get to practice. There are a lot of optometrists in the US, old timers, who don't have therapeutic rights. They are fine. They are saying, no, we don't want to sit through those lectures and learn. We are happy doing refractions and basic eye exams. We don't want to treat, right? So if you want all those extra rights, you need to be willing to take that extra 100 hours of training and so on. Today, a lot of our Ayush doctors are also going extra pharmacology 1-year training if they want to practice allopathy legally, right? So there will be a law at some point that will say if you want to upgrade yourself, you just have to go and take those extra hours of training. What is there? Continued medical education is anyway a part of healthcare. We've been talking about it in OCI as a voluntary process. So soon be a mandatory process. The whole idea of OCI giving continued education points was preparing people, saying this is coming,
Great work, and there's a lot of insights here which I could see, and uh, it is an opener for all of us because we keep on asking for why not this, why not that. We're not looking at the brighter side of the coin.
Right, believe me, I said if I had to start my career now, I'll be super excited. Unfortunately, I'm finishing it. I'm done and dusted with it.
You'll keep inspiring us throughout. There's no retirement for you, ma'am. Okay. So, looking ahead, how do you envision the roles of optometrists, again back to the, and technicians evolving over time, over the next decade? Will they become more collaborative or
100% collaborative. 100% collaborative. I think when we have robust eye clinics, optometrists and vision technicians will work together. They will be probably taking care of doing all the tests. Optometrists will be more involved in interpreting and consulting the patients. There's also going to be a division of labor. Like one person takes over the refractions, the other will take over the dispensing. And I have seen this happening in the US. And I've seen this happening in some other parts of the world also, where they work very well as a team. I think they are very good times I'm seeing ahead. Yeah, and a lot of them tend to upgrade also. So I think it's very good times.
collaborative practice is the future? For vision technicians, there's one doubt which I'd got, that while intaking them, you said it's 12 science, right? So even for vision technicians, the eligibility remains the same, or it is
It remains the same. For
12?
all healthcare across allied and health, that's the definition. 12 science. The Act also says that.
Okay. Okay.
That's how most of it is. Very few are a little here or there, or they are up to 10th. Some of the polytechnics are up to 10th. But I think the vocationals will go. The vocational ones will. I'm just going to pass my video name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the vocationals will go.
Okay. Okay. So finally, we are coming towards the end of the podcast. Before the next section, I wanted to ask you what message you're going to give to the current trainers, the educators, and the optometrists to be prepared for the curriculum. What is the message, key message you want to deliver?
Keep upgrading yourself. Attend as many continued education workshops, conferences where you can learn new skills. Go look at the new competency list. Make a checklist of what you know, what you don't know. Upgrade yourself so that you can, help upgrade others. So keep learning, keep growing. There's no end to it. Optometry is lifelong learning. I can tell you that, sure.
I think we should keep asking why and keep growing ourselves in terms of education. Okay. So we're coming to the fun section now, which is my favorite part, which is a rapid fire section. So are you ready for some questions? I'm good. Yeah. So what's your favorite pastime? Other than optometry, what do you like to do?
Read fiction. I read a lot.
Wow. So what is the one thing we don't know about you?
One thing you don't know about me. Okay. I don't know. I'm generally an open book. But yeah, I'm not a very social person. I'm not on all the social media. So that way I like to keep my personal life very private. So that's one thing. I don't know if people know that or don't know that. I don't know.
But that's interesting to know. So what's one thing every optometrist should always keep in mind?
Patient care first.
Okay. What is the most inspiring figure in optometry for you? Who is the most? Sorry.
Ah, the list is so long.
If you have to name one or two people, bus.
One, of course, will be Mr. Balivela, Dr. Badrinath. He's not an optometrist, he's an ophthalmologist. He was. I've lost him. We've lost him. These are two people who will always remain for me. Many more people in different ways have inspired me for different things, whether it was public health, whether it was teaching. I have learned from practically every person whom I met in India and abroad. I get to learn from a lot from educators, senior educators in optometry from other parts of the world. Jean-Paul Roussin from France. Vanessa, I've learned a lot from Vanessa. She was your mentor. So yeah, over the years, many people have touched many aspects of my life. Professor Brian Holden, we've lost him too. Many things we didn't agree with, but many things I learned from him. So at different times of my life, my own colleagues whom I respect a lot, we learn from each other. Aditya, Lakshmi, Dr. KK. So these are my peers. I often learn a lot from them. And my juniors, my next generation, I learn a lot from them too. I learn a lot from all of you. And of course, some of the really stars now in Indian optometry, Dr. Anuradha, very dynamic. Dr. Anita Arvind, very dynamic. I see Ramesh SPE, very brilliant, very brilliant how they come up with innovative ideas, instrumentation. They are taking Indian optometry at a different level. The list is
long.
I can keep giving you names. I learn from every single person. I think there's something to learn from everybody. I'm sure I missed many people like Mrs. Kunda Ganatra. I can Anaita ma'am, Nutan ma'am. I can just go on and on and on. Nipa ma'am. I can just keep giving you a long list.
Usually we do have one inspirational person and we look up to them and we keep following them, but it is important, it is a key learning here that we should take good from each and learn from all whom we
Yes. I think everybody has something
something to give.
to learn from them. Right?
So which is your favorite tool in your clinic you can't live without?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. So depends. It's sometimes my retinoscope, sometimes it's my optimoscope, the clamp, tripods. I think these are your
What is
must
the one
have, must have.
must have?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is the treatment you would recommend to all optometrists to have in their practice? Like one instrument which is eco-friendly and should be there in your clinic. one or two, like, or I can reframe this question.
And
What
see,
you
yeah,
want us to be keeping in a clinic to set up, like initial setup years in the initial?
everybody will have a refraction unit, right? So I
Yes.
don't want to say, yeah, everybody thinks their bread and butter is refraction. Okay. But I think two also very important tools would be, I'm also assuming a lot of them would have a slit lamp because they want to do contact lenses, right? But I think two more very important tools to add would be a direct ophthalmoscope, not expensive, and a tonometer, a non-contact tonometer. So it could be a handheld eye care, it could be a non-contact pulsar tonometer, whatever. But I think you should be able to address all the screening, whether you're looking at glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, refractive errors. If you're trying to cover the gambit of all these problems, all your anterior segment issues like cataract and so on, if you want to screen, then a slit lamp, a refraction unit, an ophthalmoscope, retinoscope, and a non-contact tonometer. Must-haves. So good to have, would also be a fundus camera. Okay. So it's okay if you don't have an automated lensometer. The manual will still do the job.
Digital today,
Like all the digital stuff. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to young optometrists starting their career? Now it's the time.
At some point, you must envision to have your own practice. And you need to plan your first step in your career, keeping where you want to see yourself 5 years down the line, where you want to see yourself start with 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, right? It's okay if you choose to climb a corporate career. That's a secondary way of looking at your career 5 years down the line. But I think somewhere starting your own practice has to be in your horizon.
I think looking at it as an entrepreneur,
Yes, yes. That's why, despite you being a full-time academician, I do hold on to a very, very small practice. I remember when I started it, they said, how can you have a practice that works 2 hours and 3 hours a day? Shutter has to be open 10 hours a day. I said, if people can go visit and consult an ophthalmologist, can function for 2 hours in a day, why can't they come to consult an optometrist? I know it sounds very odd, but let me do it. I've done it for 20 years. Now people come for me. It's okay. It's different. I know it's different. But people do come. I've survived.
I think that's the respect you gain through your practice and the service you provide to individuals.
I think that also keeps me up as a teacher. I'm not talking of some knowledge from books, but from my real life patients whom I've seen. So that's what makes me different. Of course, I'm most alive when I'm in a campsite, fully stressed in the heats, trying to do ophthalmoscopy in the most unconventional conditions. But that's what keeps me more alive. Or of course in a pediatric camp. But that's my real highs. It gives me my highs over there. But I'm happy also to do good clinical work in my practice.
I think we should keep practicing throughout. What we usually in the corporate sector, what I have found is that when we are glued to our screens, or we are in research or academics, we are too glued to our screens, we forget looking at patients, and
that's a loss. That's a loss.
Yes. And then after that's what happened after a few days, when you go and check on your patients, you really take time to complete that one patient. But you don't forget, but definitely practice makes you better.
Yes. No, your confidence of diagnosis and talking to the patient comes only when you see live patients. Every patient is different. That's why you are called practitioners in healthcare. No one is really called an expert,
Yes.
You have to practice.
It is important. Okay. So we come towards the end. So I wanted to ask you, what are the 3 books you will recommend to all optometrists to read?
Read side to side.
Yeah, like we should know about it. Like we should know inside out.
Okay. Good books to read is your Clinical Practices by S. Cridge. PCO is a good book. Of course, diseases. I grew up on a count scheme, so I don't know what it is now. A lot of optics and dispensing. You could read Borish. Binocular vision, we have some very good books. You could read Keith Lyons, that's a good one. A lot of books, but it's good. But as I said, at the end of the day, every patient's different. The more number of patients you see, the better you'll get. So you just need to make sure you get as much as hands-on as possible wherever you are. And that's what is going to make you a better optometrist, not mugging up a book from side to side. But what I would actually like to advise young students is to keep a competency list.
Okay.
And we also have a competency assessment framework next to it. The ILOX is a very beautiful document. And it's a free downloadable. Just go to the website and download it. It's a leading academicians across the country. Yeah, it's the Indian entry-level optometrist competency document. So you can take that, and while you are in second year, third year, fourth year, rather use that as a Bible to say you can record vision across all age groups using all charts. That's your checklist. You can do vision, distant, near, using different charts, different test types. That means you know how to record vision very well. So that's a checklist. Can I do refractions? That's a checklist. Subjective, objective, cycloplegics, know how much to prescribe, know when to prescribe children, not to prescribe children, checklist. I know how to do it. When I'm doing a slit lamp examination, what are the different techniques to be used to do good diagnosis? Checklist. I know how to do my slit lamp evaluation. I know how to do my direct ophthalmoscopy, my indirect ophthalmoscopy. It's a checklist. Yeah. Rather than asking me which book, I would say if you can tick mark on every competency on an ILOX document, you will be a good, reasonably good optometrist. I'm saying competent, okay? Not knowing how to do the test. It's like saying you ask somebody what's Perla, everybody will say P, how it is done. When you ask them, show me how you will do accommodation, they will all be blinking. They won't know how, yes. Right? So, not knowing what the test is, competent enough to do the test well on a patient and interpreting the results. That's what we call as a competence. If you can do that checklist, I think that's better than any book to learn.
Great. I think, you are a full encyclopedia for optometry, I would say.
It's been too long in the profession, Neha, too old.
So thank you so much for the insights. It was great interacting with you and for all our educators. So final message for our listeners out there. Any final message from you, ma'am?
Keep upgrading. When I did my FAO and I did my PhD, and then when I did my diplomate, when I finished my diplomate, I felt, God, 9 people from different countries were doing my Viva. I'm not sure I want to do any more optometry. I'm done with this. You know, it was in 2023, and then Anu calls and she says, Prema, there's a diplomate in education. Should we enroll? I was thinking 3 more years, 4 more years to finish the course. That means I will be probably close to 60. Where will I use it? And then let me think about it. I'll come back to you. It's like you don't give up. There's always something to learn, right? So I think keep learning is what will keep you young, keep you fit. Every time there's a new instrument, I'm the most excited to go learn how this new toy works. And I still remember when I saw an OCT and an OCTA. I think it was magical to see all the layers of the retina like that. I think that fascination is what keeps me alive as a child. I would love to go and learn something new. Um, and I think everybody has that little spark of being fascinated with something. I think my students must be finding it very odd when I stand and say, isn't it so beautiful when you see how the light goes through it and you can see it as a wave coming out in an electroretinogram or something like that. I don't know whether they are finding it exciting. I'm like super excited to see a wave coming out like that. So it's that kind of an excitement which you see. I I think that's what keeps you alive. And if you can do that, keep that spark in you to learn ever. That's my little bit. You will stay alive.
I think I want to sit and hear you all day long, but we had. It is so inspiring. I think I have got inspired, and what I've got it from your that keep the student in you always, alive and keep learning, keep growing. And I think when you are a student, you never grow old, like Prema ma'am. So thank you, ma'am, for this beautiful conversation, insights, and definitely it is going to shape a lot of young generation people and definitely inspire a lot of us at our age and even the older ones. Thank you for the evergreen talk. And this is not the end. We want you to be back for more questions in another episode of um, Optisphere series in Optometry Insights. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. And for our audiences, thank you for watching us. I hope you learned a lot through this session. Tune in for more such episodes and please like and subscribe. Thank you.